everybody. We got the full cast here. Haven't been here for a long time. The boys from It's Not the Ref and For Fans Talk Sports. They're here. We're going to talk hockey. Lots of hockey. Thank you for joining us. Please click the subscribe button if you enjoy this. And I know you do. Hey, Rolly, Brian, Clark, welcome back from your journeys. How you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
All right.
Hang on.
Good to be back.
I see you're poking the bear with your jersey there, Brian.
So this is the most popular jersey in the NHL right now.
Yeah, I mean, did you have a hard
Getting
time
all the
ripping?
headlines.
Did you have a hard time ripping the Toronto Maple Leaf logo off of it?
There's no Leaf logo on this. This is OMHL.
OMHL. OMHL.
There you go.
That's what the Leafs are saying. Oh.
Oh hell.
All right, look it. Let's talk some referees because you guys
stand up for my brethren.
Why would you do anything different?
Because why would I do anything different?
Right. Yeah, why would you do
Fine. I think they're doing fine.
So tell me this. Let's talk about a couple of goals. They did fine. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay.
Wait a sec. Are we talking referees on ice or are we talking the video war room? Because those are two different things.
Well, no, we're going to talk referees on the ice. It starts there, right?
Absolutely.
So Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, the non-goal for Tampa Bay because the ref lost sight of the puck. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yep.
I'll put it up on the screen. So let me ask you a question. Is that a goal or is that a no goal?
No goal. He lost sight and he blew the whistle. Plays dead. Leaf fans don't like it. I'm a huge Leaf fan, you know that, but I agree.
Oh, so this goal here, which is the Tampa Bay was going to score.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay and the puck was actually going into the net. And the referee calls it, says, well, I can't see the puck. It was still an active play, but the referee calls it and says, no, lost sight, blew the whistle. And Cooper's going nuts because he's like, what are you talking about? Like everybody, all the players saw it was still in play. Goal or no goal? Or good call or bad call?
Not a great call, but it's the call. And that's where refs will take a lot of heat because they will blow the whistle if they lose sight. So they make the call. They got to stand by it. They stick by it. And that's, I've said this before, you win some, you lose some. And generally over the course of over a period of time, it'll work itself out.
Clark? Good call, bad call?
I generally agree with Brian that the refs lose sight of the puck, they blow it dead. It's frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating sometimes because you could take that rule and say, well, anytime the ref blinks, he loses sight of the puck, so he should blow the whistle. So there's obviously judgment that's applied there. And there are times when it feels like, hey, why let it go for 2 seconds here, but only 1 second there or 4 seconds here? And I think that's a part of a bigger thing where anytime you have a situation like this, the NHL comes out and says, we have the best refs in the world and leaves it at that. And we don't have, and I agree, these are the best refs in the world. You don't get to the NHL without being the best refs in the world, but they are also human. And there is nothing in the NHL that allows for refs to be human. You have other leagues, there will be things where after the game, the refs will speak to media, a designated person from the media, depending on the league, however it works, they will speak and say, this is what I was thinking at this time, this is what I was thinking here. And there is room for them to explain, be wrong, be supported by the league still, and you can do that. When you say we have the best refs in the world and leave it at that, there's no room for the referees to be human.
Yeah.
And that's the problem in the NHL.
Roll, do you buy into humanity here with the refs?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there is humanity. Was that the 4-2 goal? Was that the goal that would have made it
Yes,
4-2
yes,
and then
it is.
back and won the game?
Yes.
Yeah, he did lose sight of the puck. The only thing that bothers me with those goals is that then you'll see other games like Clark was talking about, and they'll score a dirty goal like that, and it's a goal, right? So in some games it's no goal, and some games it's a goal, and you're going, well, it's either one way or the other. It can't be both. So that's the hard thing that the teams have to deal with, and the fans too. The fans go nuts when they see stuff like that, and they start comparing.
Here's the other one, more recent one. Florida. The refs lost sight of the puck. There was no whistle. There was no whistle for a really long time. It was continuous play. The puck was underneath the goal. They were poking at the goalie. Even after it was deemed that, you know what, this play is probably dead, there was still no whistle. There was no whistle from the referee lost. They should have blown their whistle at some point, but they didn't. And there's no consistency. So was that a goal or no goal? Was that a good call or a bad call?
Which one are you? Which one are you talking about? The Leaf?
Florida, the one on the screen now. Florida and Toronto.
Was that the in, and then they said it was no goal?
This is the one where it hits Bobrovsky. It's underneath him, or Ryan O'Reilly puts up his hand, says, "Yeah, it's a goal. We're good to go." But there's no whistle. Referee doesn't know where the puck is. They're trying to, they're showing on the jumbo screen after, they're showing, oh yeah, look, it's underneath him after, a minute.
Just proved part of my theory that it kind of evens out. Leafs got a bit of a call, or call went their way when Tampa didn't got a goal called back. And then the Leafs think they scored a goal in Florida. Two different series, but still it's kind of stuff evens out.
That was a little weird though, Brian, because I think it was the ref that was the furthest away that said he made the call on that. And again, it's like, well, how can you make the call from 40 feet away when there's the other ref near it that still didn't make a call? And you're going, who has the better view of that? So yeah, I don't know.
They still, here's the thing: the refs have the opportunity to get together, to scrum, to have the conversation, to say who saw it, who had the angle, who didn't. There's 4 guys on the ice, and when they decide, that's it. That's the decision. That's the call.
Yeah. There's a lot of money, a lot of waking up, a lot of training, a lot of people working, a lot of people depending on for this to be a game of, well, it balances itself out. It's okay. It balances itself out.
Every sport's like that.
Extreme. You're taking that to an extreme. I'm not saying, let's just come see, come saw, don't worry about it. But I'm saying here you can look at it either way. Someone can say, you know what, that wasn't a goal. And someone can say that wasn't a goal. And you could poll 100 people and you might get 52 to 48. You might get 60 to 40. You're going to get disagreement. You're going to get division. You're not going to get 100 people that say that's a goal, no matter what graphic you put on your screen. You're not going to get 100 people that all say, you know what, the ref made a bad call and that should be a goal. You're just not.
I know this, Brian.
Stuff tends to pair out. We've had the same thing with penalties. We had the same conversation. They have to make a call. And sometimes they'll get it right and you'll be happy with it. And sometimes they might get it different and make a call that you're not happy with.
I have watched game in, game out, not just Toronto Maple Leafs, and all I keep thinking to myself is, this is the worst officiating that I have seen in years. And what's funny is last playoffs, I probably said the same thing. This is the worst officiating I've seen in years. And now I look at it this year and I go, this is the worst officiating. In fact, I am so.
So the most consistent thing here is that you don't like the refs.
That's right.
Here's what I know. Okay. Here's what I know.
On the panel that don't have that same.
Hold on a second.
Does that mean you're right?
Clark is the commissioner of a fantasy hockey league. Okay. All the players go into a simulator, and the simulator looks at the players and it spits out some results based on a whole bunch of statistics. Okay. Penalties included. At this point in time, I have about as much faith in the NHL reffing as I do in the fantasy hockey league, because you know what? I don't know how the simulator takes those stats and comes up with the results. We think it's based on all these, but I don't know. It's the same level of consistency that I get out of the fantasy hockey league that I do out of the NHL. I could flip a coin, and that's what I might get.
Listen, I'm going to make one comment to you, and it's about consistency. You're always going to have inconsistency. You're going to have inconsistency with the players. You're going to have inconsistency with the refs. You're going to have Connor McDavid score 4 goals in one game and then go goose eggs for the next 3. Is that consistency? That's inconsistency. So the refs, from my part, are doing the best they can. They will make some calls that'll make some people happy and everyone agrees on, and they'll have some other calls that become controversial. The other thing I think that we have to bear in mind, and that we've talked about this before, is that the game, like it or not, the game, when it comes playoff time, changes. And so consistency of calls that used to be in the regular season kind of goes, I've seen it over the years, becomes different in the playoffs. So a call that might be made during the regular season may not get made in the playoffs. So
that's a great segue, Brian, into our next thing. I think on the referees, we're split. I think that you and Clark are, hey, pro ref, and we're okay with what's going on. And I don't know that Rolly and I are. I think that I'm probably more extreme than Rolly. I'm on the way other side of it, going, refs need to go to school. There's something needs to change in the league. The refs need to go to school. I'm saying this, because you'll say to me, well, you won't say that if it's the Leafs. I'm saying it even with the Leafs. I think that the Leafs, got some bad calls. I think that everybody is getting some bad calls. I think that the only consistency is their inconsistency, and they need to do better. But if we segue into what I got on the screen here, okay, and we're going to talk about the league and consistency and suspension. So you look at Pietrangelo there, and he skates over two-handed. I talked about this on the last episode, two-handed, and he takes a whack at Leon Draisaitl, and he gets tossed. There's the referee looking right at it. He's right there. He had to call that. Maybe he didn't. We have things where the referee's just looking at stuff and they just look the other way and they don't call anything. But so he calls that, and Pietrangelo gets 1 game suspension because, well, it's the playoffs. And the playoffs are different than the regular season. And 1 game in the playoffs isn't the same as what you would get in the regular season. You know what? You want to stop this? I said it on the last show. You want to stop this? Pietrangelo, you're gone. You're gone for the series.
So listen,
and by the way, Vegas, you forfeit a game.
You're going to agree with you, which is why I made the caveat before we had the conversation. If we're talking on ice officials or the
yeah.
There's 3 things, actually. There's the on-ice officials, there's the video war room for calls and stuff like that. And then there's Clark, you're going to help me out here. The
Department of Player Safety.
Safety and discipline or whatever. Yeah. Right. So, and that's the one, I will be honest with you, that frustrates me a little bit. And I will totally agree with you 100% that when there is something that's egregious and this is all caught on film, they get to view it, the guy gets a hearing. And when it's malicious and vicious, and it luckily Draisaitl didn't get taken out. He very well could have. And I agree with you. 1 game was a ridiculous assessment.
Gone for my thing is gone for the series. Vegas, you forfeit a game.
The person they put in charge of that, I don't know if they're just a figurehead, because who is it? Is it that
George
It was George Peros.
George Peros, one of the
George Santos. George Santos.
George
was an instigator. He
Right.
was a brute in the NHL. I'm going, how did they put this guy in charge of this department? And now you see and I don't know how many people are involved in making that call too. I have no idea. Is it just Peros or is it a team of people?
I don't know. Are they still doing videos? When Shanahan was there, they were doing videos of here's what happened and we'll look this and we'll look that.
I haven't seen one in a long time.
They do still do the videos, but they're not like that slickly produced and that specific. It's they're kind of more like, hey, here's some text that says what we're doing in video form,
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's it. It's definitely disappointing. But to the point of like Peros being the one to do it and everything, it would have been easy to say that about Shanahan too, given his career. And
Right.
he was pretty solid in that role. So I don't want to hold it against Peros himself or anything.
Shanny was
But
a good player, though. Shanny was a good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to see him for a lot of years in Detroit, and I was very happy to have him on that team. But it's clear that the mandate from the league has changed since Shanny was in charge, and I don't know what you do about that.
Yeah.
The league wants it this way.
It's bad. They're wrong. It's ruining the game. They've got it wrong all along. And
The other player, I think it was Darnell Nurse. He got a game for
in the last 5 minutes. He had a fight and he got the instant
the fight,
right.
And he missed the game because of that. Right now, are those two equivalent? They're not. They're not equivalent. So
well,
yeah.
His was an automatic. I think it was getting in a fight at the end.
Oh,
yeah.
Automatic in air quotes there. They have the ability to rescind it, and I will complain about that forever because it happened in 2009 when Evgeny Malkin started a fight in the final 5 minutes of Game 2 against Detroit, and they immediately came out and said, nope, we're rescinding that one.
Yeah,
and then he came out and scored 3 points in Game 3.
If Pietrangelo doesn't get that 1 game suspension, if that doesn't exist, Darnell Nurse would not have been suspended.
I say it's the other way around. Nurse got his automatic 1 game, so Pietrangelo got his 1 game, and it's fair and even.
So you think that when the league looks at Pietrangelo skating 6 feet, holding a two-handed stick and coming down, they were going to be okay with that? You think the league was going to be okay with that? Makes this worse.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I agree that it is worse, but I think that is absolutely something that went into it, that the two cancel each other out, so it is fair.
So I was up at the Cottage. I got to ask a question. Did Draisaitl do something to Pietrangelo prior that prompted that? Was obvious?
I don't think so. They were targeting Pietrangelo. A lot of players were going after him, hitting him into the board, finishing their checks on him, like just making sure they finish the checks on him. So I think that's what he was getting upset about. It's like, I'm getting hammered out here and nobody's doing anything about it. So
where were the refs? If something so bad was happening to Pietrangelo.
Well, that's what we're saying. The game's different in the playoffs, whether or not it should be.
Okay. So then the player took matter into his own hands because the referee wasn't doing their job. And because the referee wasn't doing their job and the player took things into their own hands, the league gets involved and gives us these.
Oh, no, wait a second. The referee wasn't doing his job. If the referee was doing the job the way you'd want it, you'd have 15 people in the penalty box, Guido. That's playoff hockey. Yeah, absolutely.
No, look,
get under each other's skin. Your favorite Montreal Canadian Brendan Gallagher was a classic at that, getting nice skins and poking the bear and sticking his glove where it didn't belong.
Michael Bunting, what?
Same thing. He's the same thing. He's a carbon copy of.
Why do you go right to Gallagher when you've got something in your backyard?
I know the same. Hey, if the Leafs trade Bunting, I won't be the first guy to be. I won't be upset at all.
I'm okay if Gallagher goes too, but
I was saying go straight to Gallagher because we know it it bothers you.
Hey, they did Kordic for Kortner. How about Bunting for Gallagher?
No, I wouldn't want Michael Bunting on the Habs if I'm cheering for the Habs. Okay, so league suspensions. We might be agreeing that the league's getting those wrong. So the call on that is they're getting it wrong. Although we still got blurred lines on the referees, and I'm gonna have to buy myself flowers on that one. let's go to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sorry, I was threw in a little sort of humor there from the old Hockey Night in Canada coach's corner. Let's go to the Toronto Maple Leafs. What do the Toronto Maple Leafs do? Oh, there's something happening. All right, he's gonna do something. While he's doing that, I'm gonna throw this up on the screen. Sure, it'll make Brian happy. Oh, he's putting on the Leafs jersey.
There we go.
Oh, that's just like on the ice. The refs take their ref jersey off, put their Leaf jersey on, and vice versa. So
The same.
that's what they do. That's what they do on the ice. That's awesome. Look at, since 1967, the original 6 teams, it's up on the screen there. The Habs have got 10 Stanley Cups, and Detroit's got 4 Stanley Cups, 6 President's Trophy. The Bruins and the Blackhawks, who, you know, they've got 3 tainted Stanley Cups, the Blackhawks, that is, and then we've got the Rangers that has got one, and the Maple Leafs have nothing but a measuring cup. And some people today were like, you're a jerk for putting a measuring cup there, just put nothing there. And they didn't quite understand what I was trying to say. And what I was really trying to say is, unfortunately, the Toronto Maple Leafs are left being measured to the original 6 in a league that has changed. That, you know, we know expansion has happened. We know that some of those other teams haven't been as successful in the last, 5 to 15 years or whatever. But that being said, the Toronto Maple Leafs are out of the Stanley Cup playoffs again. So where do you sit on the Leafs? What do they do? Do they fire Dubas? Do they fire Keefe? Do they change the players? What do they do?
Well, look, I will tell you, I was happy because and you remember from our previous things, all I wanted was them to break the curse and win the first round. So they did that. I'm good.
Low bar.
Did they really win the first round though, Brian?
Yeah, they did.
I mean, like they did have 4 games, but they didn't play as well in the first round as Tampa did.
I've always said it, and the Leafs are missing that element that's a grit. They need a guy like a Lucic or a Tkachuk or someone that's beyond a finesse player. Matthews tried to step it up a bit, but he's not that. They need that gritty. And O'Reilly, they thought was it. I don't think he's it.
No. Yeah.
But I think they have to break up the big 4. I'm not sure which one goes, and that'll all depend on contract talks and things like that. And I think Matthews is the key one to get signed. I think the fan base will go nuts if they don't want him. And they all in their press conference said they all want to come back. Even Nylander said he wants to come back. They got issues right now, and that Dubas is. And listen, I'll give the guy a break in the fact that, coaching and being a GM in Toronto is probably one of the toughest markets to be in. You're under constant scrutiny. So the guy's taking a bit of time to talk it over with his family and decide what his next move is. And until that gets resolved, there's not much going to happen. So I'm expecting something to come out tomorrow. And if it doesn't, I would expect the team will make a decision for him. So.
I'll talk about it after. Dubas played this brilliantly. Clark, before I get into that, Leafs, what do they do?
They trade Nylander to Detroit for Ben Sherratt. There's that grit. You need that grit.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. Might happen in the DHL, but yeah.
In a fantasy league.
Yeah. Do they fire anybody, Clark?
I don't think so. I don't think they do. Because who else are you going to bring in? Are you really going to bring somebody else in that you think like, oh well, they built a solid team that, yes, needs some grit, that needs a few pieces changed. It's not that this is a horribly constructed team in general. Maybe they should have done more of that last year. But
Cash
I don't
strapped.
think I don't think you're tearing this down. I don't think you're bringing in. I don't think you need to bring in anybody new in the front office.
How about you, Roll? You love them. What do
Yeah,
you do?
I do love the Leafs. They're just top heavy. I mean, 4 players making $40 million, and now Matthews is probably going to want 15 million. I can see Marner going. I can see Nylander going. Tavares, he has that no trade clause, but they could even sit him down and say, hey, we don't want you here anymore. We don't want you to be part of this team anymore. We're going to move forward without you. And we want to trade you. That would probably be a tough talk to do, but it's been done in the past with other players too. It's like, we're moving you. They're just not built right. That's the only thing. It's a great team. They have a good team, but for those little pieces that they don't have, it kills them every year. So, and with the cap, I mean, that's hurt them too. So, as far as Dubas, that was a little strange, him coming out the other day and playing it that way. I was hearing that, even Leaf management was surprised that he said what he said. But I think Brian's right. They might not wait for him now to come back and say, this is what I want to do, or yes, I'm coming back. They might make the call themselves. I read too that Shanny's already kind of offered him a contract. It's like, we want you back, but how long are they going to wait for him to do that? So I don't know. They might all be back, another kick at the can, but I can't see that same team coming back, and it won't, because they have like 11 unrestricted free agents. So it's not going to be the same, but I can see a couple of those top 4 going for something else. And he actually, and Dubas actually said that. It's like, he almost admitted, it's not working. It's not working. So things can change.
I think the one that's going to go is probably the one that's been their most consistent and best player, not necessarily in the playoffs, but year after year. And that's Marner. I think he's likely to be dealt.
Yeah.
Dubas played this brilliantly. Okay. And here, I'm going to tell you why he played this brilliantly. He was, I don't know that he had curried favor given everything that had happened and the Leafs not moving forward, and he may or may not have known what was going on with the office there. And so he comes out and he says, well, I don't know if I'm going to stay. I got these other things that I'm thinking about. And he plays on the empathy of the fan who's going, oh, poor Dubas. He's got some stuff going on. He's such a nice guy. He tried so hard. He made all these moves for us, and he did. And all of a sudden, you're a little bit enamored with Dubas, and you're kind of going, oh, you know what? He's not a bad guy. I hope this works out for him. And so he played a little bit. I'm
going to challenge you on that. I think that's ludicrous. And I think a guy calling out that he's got in a high pressure job and he's got things going on, talking to his family, a young family, that's things going on. What's he got going on, Guido?
He's busy. He's busy in Toronto traffic. He doesn't want to drive in the new normal. I don't know. I'm just saying, look, there might be some.
I'm calling you out on it.
There might be some family stuff there, but it's convenient that it's now, and this is the way it is. Even I feel a little bit bad. I'm going, oh, he's got family stuff, like he's thinking about it. It makes sense. I get it, Well, he did make some good moves there at the end. He tried real hard. So
I would guarantee you that if he didn't sign with the Leafs and he wanted to, he would be employed with another team within a week.
Sure. So would Mark Bergevin.
Not good.
So Mark Bergevin is interviewing too. But anyways, I'm not buying it 100%, Brian. There's part of it that I'm going, something's not right there.
I give him credit for coming out and saying, look, it's all about family. I've got challenges. And he said, you're not going to see me pop up with another team.
Right.
It's nothing to that. I'm not trying to leverage. I'm not trying to play leverage against the Leafs. The guy's doing I think he's doing the right thing, and I'm going to give him credit. That's why I'm challenging you for taking him on. and making.
But I'm not wearing a
Well-
Leafs jersey, so I can't buy into it 100%. The other thing here was Tavares. Rolly, you said, and this is what I keep hearing about Tavares. Well, sit him down and have a talk with him. And for as bad as we, or for not producing in the second round, John Tavares is an 80-point player during the season. He's a point that he had a great season. He's a point a game player. He's playing center on a Toronto Maple Leafs team. Maybe you don't keep him at center. Maybe you move him off to the wing if he's slowing down. But he got 80 points during the season. Okay. So this is where I sound a little bit like, hey, I'm pro Leaf here a little bit in the sense that I say this: don't do anything. If you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, if you don't do anything. Okay. Brian, you said, can we just get past the first round? They got past the first round. You look at some other teams that did they did the first round and they kind of took a step back, or they made it to the second round and then they lost. And you look around the league, look at Draisaitl and McDavid.
Yeah.
And what the team that they had. Do you blow that up? I'm thinking, no, you don't. You leave it alone, right? Yeah, the Leafs are top heavy. Maybe, and it's a big maybe, it's the Marner or the Nylander that you kind of, maybe you got to move one of those guys to get yourself some better third and fourth line players, maybe. But the idea of blowing it up, there's three things that haven't changed in Toronto for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, here's what they are. The first thing is that there's a portion of the fan base that is unrealistic. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing that hasn't changed. The second thing is that for a couple of decades now, the conglomerate, the ownership hasn't changed. Okay. And the third thing is the media, the hyped up media that creates a lot of pressure. The Leafs have changed GMs. The Leafs have changed coaches. The Leafs have changed players. They've done all the things. Look at the incredible minds that have gone through the Toronto Maple Leaf system. Now, some left because some things happened. Babcock, Lou kind of goes, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with whatever this new era is bringing in. It's not this. But you look at the hockey, Pat Burns, Pat Quinn, like look at the coaches that this city has devoured. Okay. Paul Maurice, right? So what? You want to blow it up? You want to fire Sheldon? Like, I'm not a Sheldon Keefe fan. I don't like the way I don't like the way I see him coach on TV, but I don't have enough in-room knowledge to say he's a good coach or a bad coach. My perception of his behavior on TV, his micro expressions and things like that, I wouldn't want to play for a coach like that. Okay. But maybe he's different. Maybe there's a side of him I don't know. But maybe you change the coach. But why at this point? I'm just saying, you've done all these things. The only three things that haven't changed is the crazy fan it's not you, Brian. It's not you. It's not some of the folks.
I don't live in that geographic part.
You know what I'm talking about. They're unrealistic. It's over the top stuff, right? The ownership and the media that creates the hype and creates the pressure.
You know what else hasn't changed, Squee? They haven't won it in 7 years with this group. That hasn't changed either. So when you have those core players and it isn't working out, I'm not saying they need to trade Tavares. I'm not saying but one of them at least has to go, especially in this cap era, so that you can build your team differently, where you'll be able to spread the money instead of having another great player like a Nylander or a Marner getting 2 for 1, and that changes your team. That's the only thing. I mean, they're not winning. They're not built. I think he wants to build them for the playoffs, but they're not built for the playoffs, as we just said.
That's what I've always
The
said.
way
They need
playoffs
that beast. They need that beast.
Yeah.
They need that
Or maybe
beast.
Or maybe Austin Matthews doesn't become the highest player in the NHL. Maybe he takes a little bit of a discount. Maybe Marner looks at it and goes, let's go win this. Maybe Nylander says, let's go win this. Maybe. But hey, if you're Matthews and you can make 14 and be, isn't that what you're doing? But then you don't want to stay. you're gonna hate me because you're gonna come on, Guido. I'm calling you out on this. But look it. Do you really want to stay in Toronto, or do you just want to stay in Toronto because of the money you're gonna get? If that's the case, it doesn't matter where you play. Just go take your money wherever. But if you want to be in Toronto and you want to win, guys, you're not going to do it on this salary structure that you're at. Last call on these topics before we call this session. We went over our time limit, but you guys got me red hot on a few things. So last word, roll.
Yeah, I don't know with the Leafs. I think there needs to be change with the Leafs. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's probably going to be some change.
From the American side to the Canadian side, Clark?
I just want to go back to that graphic you had earlier and say, what does that look like if you say since 1993?
Well, there wouldn't be any Canadian teams except the Montreal Canadiens on it. So yeah.
Hey, my last word is I hope that Dubas stays. I think he's been good for Toronto, and he'll make some changes, but I hope he stays.
A vote for Dubas. We're split on the refs. We're all in on the league not getting it right. That's the call for today. Thanks, everybody.